And something really groundbreaking happened to me around my junior year, where I just like finally told myself, like, you know what, like, you're not going to be perfect, you're probably not going to be a straight A student at Stanford, but you're going to graduate with a good GPA, you're going to get your degree, and you're going to leave this place and things are going to be fine. คณะเบียร์บูดการบันทึกเสียงครั้งที่หนึ่ง I just graduated from university in June of 2018, so I thought I'd make this video for those of you who are currently going to school or thinking about going back to school. I know that we're all at different stages in life, and not everyone goes to university when they're 18, like I did, but I just wanted to share with you some of the experiences I've had from school, and basically some things that I would have told myself, or I wish I knew, when I was going to school. I went to Stanford University and I majored in urban studies, and no, I had no idea what I wanted to study at first, so you might be wondering like what the hell is urban studies? That's totally how I felt, and I think starting off with the first thing, it's okay to not pick your major or know what you want to do before going to school. And you know, there's this idea that you need to pick something really quickly and devote all your time to it. And I say it goes either way. For me, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was really interested in international relations, public policy, communications, computer science, art. So you get the idea. I had so many different interests, and at the end of the day, I just decided to take some classes with course titles that sounded interesting to me. For example, I took this one class on cancer. I used to think I wanted to be pre-med.
Shout out to all my Filipino friends and other Asian folks whose parents convinced them that they should be a doctor.
That was me for a little bit too. I did this pre-college program called the Leland Scholars Program, which was a little bit of an introduction to the chemistry program at Stanford. And that was actually really helpful because it helped me to decide that I did not want to go to pre-med before school even started. You know, for me, for example, like I don't come from a particularly wealthy background, so this program was for low-income students, and it was really helpful because they paid for my stay at the university before school even started, and I got to make some friends and basically figure out what I wanted my life at Stanford to look like before it even started. So obviously I was a really good student before going to Stanford, and something that people asked me a lot was, are you like really smart? Does that mean you're like a really smart person? And well, yeah, I guess the answer is yes. On paper, I'm a really smart person. When I was in high school, I graduated valedictorian. I had a 4.8 GPA. I know you're probably wondering like what 4.8, 4.0 scale, but I live in Nevada, and that's just kind of how they do the scale for our GPA over here. And one thing that I really struggled with when I went to Stanford was being around so many people who were so smart, who were also valedictorians at their schools or had crazy GPAs or like perfect SAT scores. And I will say that the one thing that really distinguished Stanford was that it at least seemed on the surface, and they at least like to make it seem, the admissions process isn't so much about like being perfect as it is being like a well-rounded individual. And I think regardless of trying to like soothe students, a lot of students at Stanford really struggle with perfectionism still, and the intense pressures of wanting to succeed or become someone someday or get a lot of rewards like they did in high school. For me personally, I was just cleaning out my my high school bedroom, which I'm in right now, the other day, and I just had so many of these awards from high school that I like even forgot about, and I was like, it's actually crazy that I just got recognition for so many things that weren't actually like honestly that hard. And like, to give myself credit, I did work really hard in high school, but I remember also thinking a lot that it was way too easy to get recognition and trophies for things that honestly, if you just like dedicated yourself to them for like a month, you could achieve. And I guess that's not to like discredit or like disqualify my expertise, or say that like people who didn't get those things, you know, didn't try hard enough. I think we all are born into certain circumstances that make achievement hard at different points in our life. And I think just for me personally, it was really easy for me to like buckle down and just be a straight A student, to like be president of like all these clubs and whatnot. So I'm gonna talk about social life now, and I'm gonna be honest, For my first 2 years of Stanford, I basically had like no social life. And there are a lot of contributing factors to that. I also, was like still stuck in that mindset that I needed to study 24/7 in order to be a good student. And something really groundbreaking happened to me around my junior year where I just like finally told myself like, you know what, like you're not going to be perfect. You're probably not going to be a straight A student at Stanford, but you're going to graduate with a good GPA. You're going to get your degree and you're going to leave this place and things are going to be fine. So I asked myself, what do you really want to take away from your college experience? And what are some of the things that you want to experience that might not necessarily be grade related? And this is like totally different from the framework I had approached education with previously, where I would wake up at like 5 a.m. in high school like every day and like literally block out by 30-minute intervals of like how I was going to study. And to be honest, I don't even really think that you have to do that to be a good student or to get good grades. I was just so trained and like obsessed with the idea of getting into a good school that that's what I did. And then when it came to Stanford, I realized that that framework was no longer working for me anymore, and it's no wonder I was like really miserable. I had no time for like any social life or activities, and it made me really depressed because one of the greatest things about going to college is meeting people who will be your friends for life. And this is like what people tell me, like I'm only a few months out of school, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I definitely met a lot of people at Stanford and in my college experience generally who really helped me out with some of the hard things in my life. It's really nice to be able to go through my week and be able to just text people and like tell them like what I'm going through and then hear what they're going through and like provide support. Yeah, one of the biggest things for me was joining a cooperative community at Stanford. Okay, so before this video continues, I just wanted to acknowledge that there are a lot of facets of cooperative culture that are really hard to explain in a video that is about Stanford at large. So I will probably do, maybe, honestly no promises, a video about that in the future, but that's about it. Lived in a co-op at Stanford College, and I remember the first time that I was introduced to the concept of a co-op. It was like my freshman year, and people would just kind of point mysteriously up this hill and say, oh yeah, that's where the naked people live. And I was like, what? Like, oh yeah, there's this co-op where people just walk around like totally naked. They're like nudists or something. And I was kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, like whatever. That's kind of like what people sensationalize and like say about it. The co-op community is based upon a lot of principles that started, like obviously way before like the 1960s, having strong networks of communities like take care of each other and perform necessary duties like cleaning, cooking, gardening, etc. It sounds like very disciplined when I talk about it, but no, it's a very fun community. It was entirely student run. It was a really good place for self-expression. We'd have these meetings every Sunday where we would just sit down and decide as a house how we wanted to interact with the wider student body. We would talk about the parties we wanted to throw, or even like little things like some of them, which I probably shouldn't actually mention because it's still a co-op, that's where people live right now and I don't want to get them in trouble, but we would basically talk about everything and decide for ourselves what we wanted to happen. And that was a really cool space for me too, because another part of my Stanford experience was experiencing hardship, and I went through a lot of things I don't think a lot of Stanford students do, just like in my first 2 years of college. And I met a lot of other people who had gone through similar things, and I think I realized over time that the people who were living in that community were just trying to, get their degree, trying to do a good job in school, but also take care of themselves and other people. And that was something really beautiful that has, excuse me. Yeah, that was a principle that like really stuck with me. If I'm going to, I guess, give any like sensationalized tip that was like the biggest thing for me over my college experience, I would say that it was learning to go to parties and to not view them as a waste of time, but as like an important and necessary way of getting the most out of school. And now, I'm sure there are a few different types of people watching this video. There might be some of you who are thinking like, oh my god, parties, no way, like I have no time, like I'm all about work, study, 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 study. And then there's some of you who are like, duh, like what do you go to college for? Like obviously parties. But I'd like to propose to you that there's like a healthy in-between of viewing parties. And starting my junior year, I almost went to like every single party I was invited to. And for me, it was necessary because I was working really hard. I was, I was doing school full time. I was taking a lot of like pretty hard classes, but there were times where I was taking computer science classes and stats, and those are probably the quarters where I went to parties the most. And during the quarters where I worked the hardest, I definitely partied the most. And that doesn't mean that I got like super drunk like every night or anything. It just meant that I was going out with my friends and I was meeting new people. And for me, I feel very energized by hanging out with a lot of people, and I think I really, it sounds super cheesy, but I think I found myself through like learning how to be comfortable in social spaces and to just like find my identity and how I could be comfortable. I know for some people parties can be really exhausting, but someone wise once told me that if you are exhausted in social situations, it's because you're not being your authentic self. And I think that was something that really clicked with me, and I just like told myself, like, you know what, you're gonna go out, you're gonna be your authentic self, you're gonna find people who you love and who love you back, and you're gonna have a great time. And so the party scene for me was something that was really fun and really nurturing in a way and creative. So yeah, I mean, if you have any other questions for me, I mean, there are a lot of videos out there by people who want to go to Stanford, who went to Stanford. Back to that point of like major, I think there was also a point too where I realized like urban studies was such a big major with a lot of different things I could specialize in, and my specialization was actually society and social change. And for me that was perfect because I realized like midway through my urban studies career that I wanted to be an active participant in the arts. I wanted to do sociological research and basically learn how to map data, have all those technical skills, but also do like the really like soft skills. And yeah, urban studies was like a really great major for that. My advisor was awesome, and yeah, he was very understanding of what college students go through, and I think at times was like also very flexible with me with counting some of my courses, so thank you so much for that. Yeah, I mean, low-key college was really hard for me, and yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I was going through at the time and like really considered dropping out like so many times or like taking time off, which there's like nothing wrong with, but it all adds up to like more time in which you know, are working on a goal. And for me, I just wanted to get it done and be over with. And so yeah, I do think things worked out. And yeah, everyone is different, but I graduated in June, and I'm sure you're probably wondering what I did after school. That's a story for next time. Anyways, thank you for tuning in to my first video, and